Mazzaroth Decode 4. Welcome back, family. Let's dig in. Back on Stellarium, hunting the signs in the Mazzaroth. Today, at 12:08 Pacific Standard Time, we see the Sun and the planet Mercury. This is the bridegroom and the messenger aligning in the rear section of the constellation of Capricorn, which is our resurrection sign. This is the resurrection of the dead. This front section is what we call death and sacrifice, and the rear section is what we call renewal or new life or resurrection. This is why the end section of the fish is seen moving as if there is new life, and the front section, the goat is bending his knee as if he is dying. This is a very important sign in the Mazzaroth. We've been looking at Apophis following the Sun, and now we see Apophis has moved ahead of the Sun, and we are looking at the constellation of Capricorn, and Ceres is still within the constellation. And again, Ceres is the goddess of marriage, and we can see this as the judge of the marriage. So we're still getting the signs of the marriage in the resurrection section of Capricorn. And this is a direct sign of the coming resurrection of the dead. And we can see how when the Sun and Mercury align, the meridian is on the capstone of the sacrifice chamber. And this is also the entrance into the Temple of Resurrection. And so when I saw this alignment with the Sun and Mercury, it made me really take note of the alignment and the section where meridian happens. If we move forward, we can see how when meridian is aligned with the Sun at 12:32, Mercury has already moved forward. But if we continue to watch the alignment, then it essentially happens right here, and between 12:08 and 12:09 we have the alignment, and we can see how this let's pull back. We can see how this is directly aligned with Mercury. You can see that line going directly through Mercury now. So let's take a look at that bottom line of the Sun, and you can see how it goes directly through the center of Mercury. So we have an alignment of the Sun and Mercury in the resurrection of the fish. And this is a very, very important sign. I believe that we are going to be seeing the resurrection of the dead in Christ. Those would be all of the believers in the last 2,000 years who have accepted Christ. And I believe that they will have their resurrection before the escape of the bride. And I believe that that is represented to us by the full moon. And we can even see that depiction happening in the iPet Goat 2 video. We're not going to go into that today, but I'm sure many of you have seen that section of the dead boy rising from the dead on the full moon. So I look at that as either happening on the February full moon or the March Purim full moon. And it could be a 30-day warning of the resurrection of the dead. But we will have to continue to watch and see how things transpire. The full moon is on the 12th and the 13th of February. And we have what I believe in that iPet Goat 2 video, I believe Mark Allison and a couple other people have pointed it out, that that in that section of the rising dead boy, that if you match that scene, it looks as though it is the Superdome in New Orleans, and that it had been destroyed, and then the moon is showing or reflecting that scene, and that could be the Super Bowl having some kind of event, and 3 days later we have the full moon, and that could represent the resurrection of the dead. And again, it could be out in March on the 14th of March, which is Purim, and there's some connections to Purim and the Super Bowl. If you haven't seen the videos that I put in my community section, then I would go. I have 2 videos in there as 2 witnesses of the Purim Super Bowl connection, and I think it's important for us to watch those and to see what we're looking at with those connections. So this is a very important sign in the heavens of the possible resurrection of the dead happening in days, family. And so we're going to move next to the Enki and Psyche. Again, we've been watching these asteroids. We watched Psyche, I believe it's, let's go ahead and do this and back up. So we have Psyche aligning here on the 6th. It's happening around 4 o'clock on the 6th. We had the Psyche alignment. You can see that here with Saturn. And now we're looking at asteroid Enki. And we have these asteroids that are aligning. We can see, let's go ahead and look at this alignment here. So we have today we have asteroid Enki and Psyche aligning in the Aquarius constellation right next to Saturn. And again, Psyche is the soul, and then Enki represents the Anunnaki devil, the serpent in the garden. And as we know, Saturn is the Time Lord. And this is also what a representation of the black cube. And Saturn is known as the first sun, or the dark hole sun, or black hole sun. And this is also a representation of the Sabbatai. This is Sabaoth. This is where we get the Sabbath day, as the Jews were worshiping Saturn, and everything about the ancient Jewish system is about the worship of Saturn and Saturnalia, and there are all kinds of Saturn cults that we can get into, and we can break these down. Sometimes it's hard for us to hear these truths, but if you dig in and you're willing to test all things instead of trying to prove what you believe, if you are willing to test and prove all things, you will find this to be the truth. Saturn is the god of the Jews, and this is a representation of Saturn controlling the house of Aquarius, and Saturn already rules the house of Aquarius. And we can see Saturn in also multiple dimensional understandings. Saturn can be the lawgiver. Saturn can be the boundary maker. And it can also be a representation of the matrix. It can be the god behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. There's many different ways of looking at this, and if you're not educated in the Saturn cults and understanding how these cults function throughout history, and these are ancient Saturnalia cults, and these Saturnian rites have been around for thousands and thousands of years, family. So we're talking about ancient religion, and these things are easy to find if you, like I said, if you're willing to prove all things. And sometimes the truth is a very, very, very hard pill to swallow. So we won't go into that anymore today, but there are many of you who have your understanding of history, of ancient history, confused because of the church. And the Roman Church is the mother of harlots, And this is another hard pill to swallow. The Protestant movement, if you go look at the questions that Martin Luther attached to the door of the Catholic Church, you will many of you Christians have not done this research. It's important. Go look at what Martin Luther said about the Catholic Church. It's encoded message. He said that the Catholic Church was the mother. I want this to get through clear. Martin Luther said that the Catholic Church was the mother of the Protestant movement. So we have the mother of harlots and the harlot daughters who are participating in the Roman death cult, the Saturnalia. So Enki is a representation of that serpent in the garden, the god of wisdom, of the underworld, and Christ tried to tell us that the Jews, that their father was the devil. And he is pointing directly to Enki. And if you have read your Sumerian mythology, which I don't believe it's all mythology, then you will see how Enki was that serpent. And his brother Enlil is a representation of Yahweh. And they are both connected with Saturn and the black cube. And the priests put the black cube on their forehead, family. This is the same black cube of the Muslims. These are hard pills to swallow. But that's what I'm here to do, is speak truth and wake up the body of my Messiah, because many are asleep and are being lulled by the serpent. So we have an alignment here of Enki and Psyche, the soul. So these are very important signs. In the Mazzaroth family, we are seeing a dividing line. On one side we have the Sun and Mercury, and on the other side we have the Saturnalia. One team's going down, family, and one team is rising up. And we are looking at a dividing line in the heavens. So next we're going to Asteroid Childress. And we are looking at the asteroid. Let's go ahead and track the asteroid back. And here we are. We're looking at Asteroid Childress on the 29th. And you can see here, Comet 249 P linear. We're looking at Childress on the 29th, entering into the temple of sacrifice. And now we're watching the asteroid move today, where it makes its exit So here we are, we're looking at the alignment of Childress with the Temple of Sacrifice. And again, we see today the alignment with the Sun and Mercury. And let's go ahead and look at these codes for Childress. Asteroid Childress equals markets plunge. I, gift of the Spirit. Jesus of Nazareth, shroud of Turin, crown of thorns, the crucified Christ, the Holy Son of God. Judgment is coming. The archer is the key. Beware the Ides of March. Spring equinox. Family, I have been screaming about the Michael stands up sign on the spring equinox, and the Ides of March is the Purim eclipse. This is the blood moon eclipse on the 14th, the Ides of March. Rapture is coming. Rises from the ashes. Central intelligence, the singularity. April 14th. That's the next blood moon eclipse after March, family. Yeshua is on earth. She is bride of Christ. You cannot make these things up. These are codes that are screaming at us. We're looking at Asteroid Childress or Child Dress. I want you to think about that, family. This is very important star language that we're getting in the heavens. And let's really quick, let's take a look at what Wikipedia says about Childress. Okay, fam. We can see all of these associations with Childress. And there are many, many people with that name. And these are associations with the name Childress. And to me, this is depicted to us in that I Pet Goat movie with the dead child rising. He's dressed in a very specific garb, and that is a sign of resurrection. It's as if they even show the scarab beetle going across his face, which is a sign of resurrection. Okay, fam, now we're going to Asteroid Abigreene. And we are going all the way over to the constellation of Taurus. And what we're looking at is a very, very important alignment here, almost at the exact same time. We're looking at Abigreene aligning with Tautari inside of, you can see that it is inside of the nebula of Tautari. This is the Ephraim horn, and this is aligned essentially with Jupiter at the horn. And as we were saying before in the last video, that this could be a representation of the trumpet. So let's take a quick look at Abigreene and the codes for Abigreene. Here we are, Asteroid Abigreene, the United States, the Serpent, 888s, God binding demon Abaddon, Hydra, the Serpent, I Holden golden ticket, the stage is set, the Bible script, Spirit of Enoch, sacrificed the Lamb of God, November 11, there's an 11:11 sign, Eyes of the Lord, the biblical Messiah, April 18th. Now we're getting another date in April. Something big is going to go down in March and April. I, God, bride, opening book. God is coming back, be for me. 4 horsemen, Star of Bethlehem. You cannot tell me that these are not pointing to the time that we're in. We can see Abigreene and Jupiter aligning with the horn of Taurus, and if we look right here, we can see that the moon today is in the hand of Auriga. Here we are. We can see that today the moon is in the hand of Auriga. And we can see Mars, Michael, moving towards the center between the bride and the bridegroom. And Jupiter is about to start moving towards the center of the horns. Again, the 5th of January or February was the date that Jupiter came out of retrograde, and now it's moving forward. And Mars will come out of retrograde on the February the 23rd and stand directly between the bride and the bridegroom. So again, we're getting more bride signs. The bride, the moon, is in the hand of Auriga. Mars is dividing between the bride and the bridegroom, as if Mars is showing us a protection over the bride. He's the master of the house, guarding both the heavenly and the earthly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at this transition of the moon. So let's watch the moon move forward. And we're going to be watching the bride occult Mars. Mars is being occulted here. We can move back. And we can see how Mars is occulted by the moon. And again, family, this is happening directly between the bride and the bridegroom. This is the meeting of Michael and the bride. This is a very important sign in the heavens. The occultation of Mars by the bride in the middle of Gemini. And again, this ancient depiction is a bride and a bridegroom. So we're seeing Mars as the protector of the bride, and now the bride is aligned with Michael, the archangel of protection, the one who is the warrior angel, the god of war. So now we are going to be moving to asteroid Rucker, and we're looking at asteroid Rucker entering into the tabernacle. So we have Rucker 12/22 tomorrow, aligning with the tabernacle of Sagittarius. This can also be the ark. This can also be looked at the bow of Sagittarius. So let's look at these codes and see if there's more information to be revealed. Asteroid Rucker equals, can you handle the truth? Decode the key of David. My Lord delayeth his coming. Satanic universe. The Antichrist revealed. Wuhan Corona. I, God, hide word in heart. Queen Apocalypse Prophet. Calm before the storm. The resurrection. Sanctified by Yeshua. I love you, Jesus. The last trumpet. Blow the trumpet. Heaven departed as a scroll. Rapture changes hurts. The Carrington event. Democratic Synagogue of Satan. And ain't that the truth with all the information that's just come out? Declaring themselves gods. You know what I'm talking about. This is Rucker entering into the tabernacle, showing us that we are looking at Jacob and the story of his wives, and it goes even beyond. I believe we're looking at a 20-year code, 7 years for each bride and 6 years for the livestock. And I believe I have found the dates of all of this. If you go back and you watch my videos, my Escape of the Bride videos, this all began in 2016, family. And the signs were unmistakable about the birthing process and the marriage and the bridal signs all began in the house of Pisces. And it happened on the equinox, 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night in 2016. And I believe that I have unlocked all of the Jacob codes. And I'm going to be presenting those through the Mars videos, the Michael stands up, and through these Mazzaroth decodes. That's the only focus I'm going to have now. Everything else has dropped off. I am no longer going to be putting any focus on anything else other than these Mazzaroth decodes, which will happen almost every day. And unless there's nothing that shows up for the days, like yesterday I had one sign, so I added that to the last video. And that's why I'm not back until today, because I did not have any signs showing up until today. So we're breaking down the last sign for the day. This happens on the 9th. I won't be back until the 10th to begin showing the rest of the signs. Tomorrow I'm going to come and show you what I have found with the Michael stands up signs. The things I'm finding are absolutely mind-blowing. And so I'm going to have to present that in a completely different format than my Mazzaroth decodes, because it's a deep dive. And we're going to have to dig in deep, and this is just showing the Mazzaroth decodes, just the sun, moon, and star signs. So thanks for coming, family. Keep looking up. The codes are showing us with our signs in the heavens that we are right on the doorstep. Much love.